Hello there, Delray Beach. This is Mitch Katz, your candidate for Delray Beach City Commission seat 3. I'm on question number 3 of this series. Again, thank you, Ingrid, and I am looking forward to serving you in March as your next city commissioner. This question has to do with maintenance of city property. It's a growing concern. Sea grapes being overgrown, basic services not being maintained. Simple things like phone systems for the city. It's hard to get to different departments. And the question is, how can we fix this? And don't just say the city manager, because that could be the easy answer. Just hire the right city manager, which should be the answer. But it also comes down to the decisions and priorities, because the city manager you're going to hire. It's true, we need to hire a really good city manager. But more importantly is we need to be united as a commission to ensure that the priority of our city is our residents and taxpayers. We need to, when a decision comes to us, okay, should we hire firefighters that we don't need for another town, for Highland Beach, for example, like my colleague did, and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars without even asking that city if we should hire firefighters for them, and then not have money for important services like fixing our phone system, trimming our trees, fixing our bathrooms. What it comes down to, while I point out that one really bad decision, which was a really bad decision and fiscally irresponsible, what it comes down to is priorities. We need to make sure that every decision we make as a commission, we are making sure that it is the best interest of our taxpayers and the best interest of our residents. If we are doing that, everything else is going to fall into place, because that's what's important. We should have technology. We should be able to make a phone call and get to the right department. We should be able to go online and pay your water bill, check on your water bill, transfer water service. Those are simple things. Our taxpayers, being owners of properties that are doing construction, should be able to do building permits online. These are services that will make life easier and better for our residents, and that should be our priority, is our residents and making fiscally strong, smart decisions so that we have the bandwidth to get things done, to fix those problems, to keep the bathroom toilets flushing, make sure the phones are still ringing, while ensuring that our residents have good service and we're not overtaxing them as well. Again, thank you. I'm looking forward to implementing these great things come March, when I'm your next city commissioner for seat 3.
City services are often the first and only interaction residents have with their local government. Those services need to be efficient and top quality. From our public bathrooms to our sidewalks, from our alleys to our dumpsters. Obviously, a decade of turnover and a revolving door at many key positions will create disconnects across all departments. In one of my first working meetings with our former city manager, we discussed what he described as his biggest concern. At that point in time, almost every department head had less than 1 year experience in the position, whether here or in another city. That collective lack of experience and/or institutional knowledge was the catalyst to department-wide disconnects and opportunities. Luckily, by my second working meeting, he did not feel need to clean house and was actually feeling quite confident after getting to know each department head, which was a relief, because I had just finished shadowing each department head and felt the same. For the most part, we have good people and now need to build an environment of success around them. Let's take the water tank issue, for example. On the surface, the issue is that our tank needed to be cleaned. But really, the issue was that there was no record of the tanks being cleaned. In my initial meeting on the subject, our city manager and I walked through how at its core, this was a recording and accountability issue. Maybe the tank had been cleaned. Maybe it had been cleaned every 5 years, like it was supposed to be. Maybe it was cleaned more than that, and we were actually wasting taxpayer dollars. But for the safety of our residents, we have to assume the worst regarding the cleanliness of the tanks, and separately, have to address the accountability issue. Staff adjustments were made and a highly experienced utilities director was brought in. We have similar disconnects in other departments, but they deal with less serious issues than clean water. The plan prior to his departure was to go through each department and address these issues, bringing as much of our services in-house as possible. And I was on board for this plan, and still am. This is relevant to the other part of the question. How can we ensure quality of services and amenities for our citizens? A model used in other cities is to pull way back on outsourcing and provide overtime opportunities and incentives for city employees to elevate our city, their city. Let's take our maintenance department, for example. We have a great team, but they are underpaid and are regularly navigating a system of contractors and third parties that make their jobs unnecessarily complex. We need to invest in them. First and foremost, we need to raise our minimum wage to $15 an hour, which the county accomplished years ago. Then we need to evaluate the many expensive contracts we bid out and analyze which ones can be brought in-house. Sadly, past commissions have used this technique to layer work on staff and save 100% of the cost of the contract. Not under my watch. My expectation would be to move nearly all of the funds budgeted for select contractors back to department heads. Even if we only save a small layer on each contract, it would add up quickly. And more importantly, it would elevate the services and outcomes citywide. This is something I'm working with our city manager on today. When you see an issue in our city, almost 100% of the time it can be connected back to people and funding. Prior to being in office, we had a commission that promised to lower the tax rate every year for 10 years. But they literally didn't put any coinciding plan in place. Nothing. A 10-year plan for 10 years of political sound bites. This is what I'm working with today. The cost of people and materials goes up every year. Just the cost of living increases alone greatly affect our expenses each year. We need to holistically look at every department and ensure we have the best systems in place for our people to thrive in. The end result will be a better Delray Beach, both internally and externally. Lastly, I'd like to take this time to mention that this has been a very tough year for our staff. Team members were being asked to do things that weren't listed in their job description. Wearing masks for 8 hours straight, taking people's temperature, working with their team members via Zoom rather than in person, waking up every Wednesday morning to distribute pallets of food to families in need. All of this on top of balancing varying levels of stress at home every day. We are all people, and we are all on the same Delray team. Thank you to everyone in and outside of City Hall for stepping up in 2020 and beyond. You are more appreciated than you know.